What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Eclectic Collector channel. I want to drop an all new first impressions video for you all. I did one of these, I think, like 2 months ago, and I think going forward, when I do these first impressions videos, I'm not going to do one series. I'm going to start doing collections of series. So in this one, I'm going to talk about 3 series, and I think that's probably how I'm going to be doing these going forward. I'll talk about like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 series, just to have more to do in one video instead of just like going on and on, about one series. So with this first impressions video, we're going to be talking about 3 separate series, and 2 of them I think for the most part came out this year, and one of them actually debuted I think last year and then went on hiatus and came back in March of this year. So those series, in order of how I'm going to do them in the video, will be Ankoku Delta, and then after that we're going to talk about Astro Baby, and then we're going to close the video out with Ruri Dragon. So let's jump right into this thing. I don't want to make this any longer than it needs to be, so I'm going to kick it off by talking about Ankoku Delta. So Ankoku Delta is written by somebody named Alpa, and that's their whole name, and it's like in capital letters, Alpa. I really enjoyed this series so far. It's only 3 chapters, but in those 3 chapters that I read, it's really piqued my interest, to the point where like I really want to see, where it's going to go. And I feel like it's become, in 3 chapters, I feel like it's become one of my favorite series that I'm looking forward to reading. And there's a part of it that kind of reminds me of, I read recently a series called Origin, and I talked about it for I think, Hey Have You Read? Yeah, I talked about it in my last Hey Have You Read video, which is my second Hey Have You Read video ever. And I got a third Hey Have You Read in the works. But there's a scene in Ankoku Delta that kind of reminded me of Origin, where they're in like this warehouse and there's this kid. It's a little bit different than Origin, because in Ankoku Delta, this kid's like about to be cut open and his organs are going to be harvested to settle a debt that his dad had with like this Yakuza syndicate or whatever. And there's this girl with him that seems human, but she isn't actually human, and she's actually this being from this other world called Delta. So this series is really strange. It reminds me of Dorohedoro. If any of you have ever read Dorohedoro, you know that it is one of the most bizarre things out. I want to one day, knock out a video about Dorohedoro. I actually have it back there. Like, I have the whole series behind me. I've read like the first 16 chapters of it at one point and then never finished it for whatever reason. So at some point in time, I'm going to go right back through all of Dorohedoro and probably just knock out a video about it, because it's one of my favorite series ever. And this series reminds me of Dorohedoro in the best ways. Where like in Dorohedoro there's Hole, where like everybody lives, and then there is like the wizard world, and the wizards in Dorohedoro are basically scumbags, and they experiment on the people of Hole, and there's like a lot of really weird stuff that happens, and it is just one of the most outrageous manga series that I've ever consumed. And I watched the Soul season of Dorohedoro. There's supposed to be a second season coming out at some point, I think I'd read. I hope that's the case, because it is such a fun story, dude, and it deserves to be, animated further. But yeah, this reminds me of Dorohedoro in the best ways, where like it's kind of like, Whole, where like, there is this world, but in the case of Ankoku Delta, there's our world, like the human world, and then there is the Delta world, which is the world that sits like on top of our world, and there are these beings called Delta that, come into the human world, and they suck the life force out of human beings with like these huge, like, I don't even know what to call them, like syringes or something, kind of like turkey basters is kind of what like I think of that they look like, and they shove them into people's skulls, and they essentially like, it's kind of like that movie Starship Troopers. I saw that in theaters when I was a kid. I think I was like 10 years old when I saw Starship Troopers in theaters, and I just remember that scene, where like, I think it's the queen or whatever, where she like, pokes through the dude's skulls, and sucks their brains out or whatever. I think it's like towards the end of the movie, but it's such an old film. I saw it, it's probably like been 20 what, like 25 years maybe at this point. Yeah, because I'm in my mid-30s, so it's probably been like 25 years since that movie came out. And I remember that scene, and that's what it kind of made me think of too. You know, where like these dudes from Delta suck like the life force out of human beings and basically kill them. And in Delta life force, they come in like, and it looks like a flask, like a jar or whatever. And each one of those is each flask, you know, of like a human being or whatever, of a human being's life force is basically currency in this world, and they use it to barter, to buy things, you know, whatever. In the case of one of our leads, Aurora, I think her name is, she uses the money that she earns from, you know, sucking the life force out of human beings to like buy a human suit to come to the human world. And in coming to the human world, she meets the kid that I talked about previously. And it's interesting because they're kind of connected in that she sucked the life force out of the kid's dad with that sucker thing. You know, she sucked the life force out of the dude and ended up basically leaving the kid orphaned, but the dad was essentially like beating up his son. And the way that it works with being able to suck the life force out of people is if somebody's having like really negative feelings or really strong feelings or whatever, the people of Delta can see those people. Like I always show panels, you know, when I do these things to kind of give you a visual representation, you know, of what I'm talking about. So I show a panel here of, you know, what I'm talking about. In Delta, they don't really see what you look like as a human being. They just kind of see like your life force. And when they see a person's life force, that's what they go for. You know, it typically means that that person's having like really negative, really strong negative feelings. And in the case of this story, this kid's dad's having really strong negative feelings. Like he wants to kill his son, and she ends up, you know, saving this kid's life. But she wasn't trying to save his life. She was actually going to suck his life force out as well. But the kid ends up, you know, being spared because his strong feelings of hate disappear when he thinks his dad is dead. And she sucks the dad's life force out of him. Kid ends up being kidnapped by the Yakuza because they want to settle his dad's debt with the kid, and they're going to harvest his organs. It's really wild, dude. It's such an insane story, but it's so much fun. Like I said, it's only 3 chapters, but those 3 chapters so far have sold me completely, and I just cannot wait to consume more of this thing. It reminds me of Jonathan Glazer's film Under the Skin, which stars Scarlett Johansson. It is one of my absolute favorite films ever. It is such a visual masterpiece. The way that it's shot, the design, everything is just absolutely gorgeous, dude. It's one of the most striking visual just feasts that I've ever consumed in my life, and I've got nothing but praise for it. If you're a person that like can't watch like artsy, you know, like art house movies, just weird movies that don't have a lot of plot, that's just like visuals and whatnot, you're probably gonna hate it. Like you're probably gonna go into Under the Skin and be like, what the hell is this? Why would you recommend this to me? But I loved it, dude. Like I'm a person, like I love weird artsy, you know, movies. Like I just watched Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage and absolutely loved it. I also recently watched Poor Things and loved that as well. And the director of Poor Things actually has another film coming out soon. That dude is putting in some work, man, and I love that. I love directors, I love creators, man. I love people that just are on the grind. You know what I mean? Like I like to consider myself a person that is on the grind. I'm always in the middle of something, you know, like I've been recently, you know, it's been kind of hard for me to get out a video every single week. I'm sure you've noticed, you know, where like I've been dropping videos maybe like every other week. And it's not that I'm not, you know, trying to get videos out. I'm just so swamped with a lot of stuff. And I'm going to be doing a video about Initial D as well coming up pretty soon. I'm almost done with Initial D, and once I finish up Initial D, I'm going to be knocking out a video about it. Yeah, I like to consider myself a person that's kind of, for the most part, always, you know, in the middle of a project, even though I can't always get projects out, you know, on a weekly basis. I am always in the middle of something because I love making videos for this channel. And even though I've only read the first 3 chapters of this thing, I am excited about the future of Ankoku Delta. I'm really hoping that it doesn't get canceled. It really doesn't seem like a lot of people are super interested in reading it, which is kind of unfortunate. I hope that it doesn't have like a short lifespan, dude, because yeah, even though it's only 3 chapters, I think that it's up there, as one of my current stories that I'm looking forward to, every week or every couple of weeks. I forget, what that release schedule is for that story, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where it's going to go, because at the end of chapter 3, we gonna get some revelations of some stuff that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to spoil this whole series for you, but I definitely highly recommend it. If you want something that to me feels like it's kind of in the vein of Dorohedoro, and it's just like super outrageous and a ton of fun, I think that you may want to check out Ankoku Delta. Alright, so next up we are going to talk about the new series by one of my absolute favorite creators ever. Shiro Moriya is writing currently a new series called Astro Baby, and it's like 6 chapters deep. The 6th chapter dropped today. Today is Friday, Good Friday, I guess. This video will probably drop in April, and I have absolutely loved what's been out so far. This series is not going to top Soloist in a Cage, because Soloist in a Cage pretty much right off the bat came out swinging, and it was one of the most just unreal things that I've personally ever read. I still haven't finished volume 3, but once I finish volume 3, I'm going to be doing a video about Soloist in a Cage. I just feel like Shiro Moriya can do no wrong, even though this series isn't on the same level emotionally as Soloist in a Cage. Where that series was just top to bottom one of the heaviest, darkest things that I've ever read. This definitely has, a lot of that darkness, but there's a lot more humor to it, which I kind of appreciate. I feel like Shiro Moriya is kind of showing that they are capable of, somewhat stepping outside of the bounds of just like this really unrelenting darkness, really brutal, suffocating, just pitch black, sort of a setting. Because Soloist in a Cage, as much as I love it, is just so dark and so miserable. And Astro Baby has a lot of humor in it, and it's actually a really good series, and I feel like it can get a lot better, and it probably will get a lot better. And there is interest. There's always comments because I read it on the Manga Plus app, so there's always comments, and people are reading it, and I hope that it lasts, that it's able to have a whole run. I don't know if it'll be a long series, given that Soloist in a Cage was like 3 volumes. I'm assuming Astro Baby may end up, kind of being the same thing, because I really don't know how far you can kind of stretch, this idea. It feels like something that may, kind of run for more or less like the same amount of chapters that Soloist in a Cage ran for. And though I don't think it's nearly as dark as Soloist in a Cage, I don't feel like it needs to be. I don't feel like every story a creator makes needs to be a carbon copy of the last thing that creator made. What I do enjoy about the series is that right off the bat, like within like the first 2 or 3 pages, there's a dude eating his wife, eating his wife's neck or whatever, like a zombie. He's full on took a huge bite out of the side of her neck, and it's really visceral. And there's scenes like that in this manga that are super visceral and super just gritty. There's one scene where this woman gives birth to her baby, and she and the baby basically get into a telekinetic fight, and it's just absolutely bonkers, dude, just super bananas. And the reason for this is that there is this thing in this world called Cooper 29 or something like that, which is essentially a play on COVID-19. And it's pretty obviously, a play on COVID-19, because there's this whole thing at one point in the series, I think pretty early on, within the first 2 or 3 chapters, that they kind of break down, the way that this disease is spread. And within this world, Cooper 29, within this world, Cooper 29, pretty much if you are infected with it, you become like a zombie, but you become like a conscious zombie, I guess, if you will. You're infected with something in the sense of like Jagan or like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where you become like kind of like this other entity, or even like Parasite. I talk about Parasite all the time. Like I seriously can never stop talking about that series. But yeah, pretty much if you're infected with Cooper 19, like who you are right now as a person changes, and this other entity pretty much like takes over your body and becomes essentially like a zombie, but it becomes like a conscious zombie. It just kind of like assumes your identity and goes and starts like killing people or whatever. And there's this thing with like an asteroid that had crashed. So for the most part, it's seeming like it is, of alien origin, much like, Parasite or like Jagan or Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So those all definitely have, that similarity, between them. So with Astro Baby, we follow this kid named Billy, who is like I think he's like a new recruit in the army, and he wants to be stationed in this place called like Farthest or something, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put the name of the actual town. It's like something hill. I can't remember, but I think the continent or whatever is like Farness or whatever. But he wants to go back because that's where he lived when he was a kid. And there's this girl there named Eleanor who kind of looks like Chloe from Soloist in a Cage. And Chloe is probably one of my favorite, just protagonists that I've ever read in any story ever. But she kind of looks like Chloe. Her name's Eleanor. She's pregnant. She's going to have a baby. And he goes back to this place because he wants to be there for her. And he wants to essentially try to confess his love to her. Like we meet him early on in the story as this little kid who witnessed, this dude basically killing and eating his wife. And later on, he's much older. I think he's like 16, 17 years old. And he comes back and things kind of go haywire. He is in the hospital with Eleanor as she's giving birth. And when she gives birth, something happens and she ends up becoming this Cooper or whatever. And there's this really wild scene where her and her newborn baby, who I guess is infected by a Cooper as well, her newborn baby, or maybe even from like the womb. I can't remember like, what the context was, but from like the womb or whatever, her baby was, had already been taken over by this Cooper or whatever. And it's actually like a really highly intelligent, really strong Cooper. So her and the baby, while the umbilical cord is still attached, have a full-on fight. And it is like the most random, like just hilarious thing out, dude. Because they full-on have a fight. And it's like this thing like where I never imagined that I would read in the manga a woman fighting her literally like day-old baby. Not even a day old, man. Like literally just has the baby like within like an hour, or maybe not even an hour, like 20 minutes of having her baby. She's in a full-on fight with the baby. And it was so random, dude. And that's why I say that, like, it's nothing like Soloist in a Cage. And I feel like it's Shiro Moriya trying to show that, they have a sense of humor and that they can do something, outside of just like pitch black, just miserable storytelling. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really hope that, it continues to just do like the super random thing that it's doing. Like we meet Billy's grandfather at one point in time, and he's like this old dude that just looks like an ex-biker. He's all tatted up and whatnot. And he's really wild looking. He looks like a really cool dude. He's got these like really cool specs, and he's got like a daycare, and all the guys that work at his daycare look like they just got out of prison. Every one of them looks like they just got out of prison, and they're like really grizzled, really tough looking dudes. And it's so much fun, dude. Like it was so much fun to read. I think it's going to be a solid series. Hopefully it doesn't get canceled. Like I really hope that none of these stories that I've talked about and I'm going to talk about, get canceled, because I hate to see that. There's so many incredible talented creators out there trying to put out, work. And that's why I like doing these first impressions videos, because if I can convince anyone to check out one of these series that just started coming out and hopefully save, these creators save something that one of these creators is making and have an audience and have a bigger audience. If enough people watch this video and then they go and read that manga, hopefully, it makes even like the slightest difference, because it could. Any little difference, can mean the world, and save a series. And that's why I like doing these first impressions videos, because like I want to save these series, and I'm not saying that they're in jeopardy, and I'm not saying either I don't want to sit here and try to have some complex where like I think it's all on me, like I'm the one who's saving these series. I'm just saying like every little bit helps. Like me mentioning to you all, somebody else, mentioning it to a friend, or somebody else somewhere else, mentioning it to somebody, and just people just kind of helping each other out to find, different series, even series that are coming out, we can help, excluding me, just in general, like just telling people about something you're reading, you can maybe save a series, because then maybe that person tells someone else about that series, and it ends up, not getting canceled, because there's so many incredible series that don't get to live beyond, like, what is it, like, what's the cutoff usually, like 25 to like 35 chapters, I think, is the cutoff where Shonen Jump or whomever, just will end a series. They'll cut it short, and there will never be more of that series, and it's really unfortunate. And I really hope that, this new tale by Shudo Moriya gets to expand out further, because it's really cool to spend time with this character Billy, and to also, spend time with what is essentially Boss Baby, dude, because the baby is basically a boss and has like these wild powers. So at one point in time, the baby like takes over Billy, and like you just see like the baby's exaggerated features on Billy, and it's so random, dude, the way that it's done. And I do appreciate that, man. I like that a creator who did something really dark can turn around and do something that isn't so dark and have a ton of fun with it. And I hope that people that are reading it are also having fun with it. I know I'm having fun with it. I think it's like 6 chapters so far, but really hoping that it goes somewhere. Given what just happened today, I think the last chapter just dropped. The chapter 6 just dropped today, and I think that it's gearing up towards something wild. It's unfortunate, something unfortunate may soon befall these characters, which kind of sucks, but I mean, that's what's going to keep it going. We got this building tension, and I love to see a story that, just goes for the jugular and isn't afraid to just take, risks and whatnot. And I feel like Shudo Moriya is that creator that has no qualms whatsoever about doing some really brutal things. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Boss. We'll see what happens with Boss Baby. We'll see what happens with Astro Baby. All right, let's do this. I saved this one for last because I wrote a lot. This is for Ruri Dragon. This came out last year. This initially, let me look at my notes real quick. I'm sorry, this came out more than last year. This came out in 2022. This came out 6/12/2022, and it resumed on 3/3/2024. But yeah, this series just resumed this month. As of the making of this video, we are still in March. I think today is Good Friday, if I'm not mistaken. If you are a religious person, I don't know. I'm not personally, but I know that it's supposedly Good Friday or whatever. And then I think Sunday is Easter. But I love this series. I've read the 10 chapters that are out so far. The first, I think, 6 chapters had dropped like last year. Or, yeah, I think like, I don't know, I guess 2002 into like last year or whatever. And then the newest chapters started dropping this year in 2024. So Ruri Dragon is a series written by Masaoki Shindo, and it's pretty much like a slice of life series, but through the eyes of a girl who wakes up one day and looks in the mirror and realizes that she's got horns. And not only does she have horns, she's also like part dragon or whatever. And this series is pretty much like a slice of life where we follow like this teenage girl as she pretty much navigates life, not only just being, like a really young teenager, kind of discovering herself, as a person, but now she's got to discover herself as a person who also has horns and is also turning into a dragon. And it kind of reminded me of the film Wolf Children, which is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. And I think I own it. I think I have the physical copy of that movie because I'm a masochist, I guess. I am actually kind of a masochist because some of my favorite media is absolutely depressing. But that's not even a lie, dude. Some of my favorite media is just the most depressing stuff out. But no, this story is the absolute opposite of being depressing. If anything, it is super chill, man. It's like slice of life in the best way possible. Like, we watched this girl, navigate being a dragon with the help of her mom, who is just one of the nicest, people out. Her mom is so cool, dude. And then, like, her classmates, learn about this thing that she has, with being a dragon, because she shows up to class, with her horns sticking out. And at one point in time during this first, this initial, return to class, with the horns, classmates are all like, what the hell is going on? And just out of nowhere, I think she was like gonna sneeze or whatever, and when she sneezes, she blows like fire out and singes the back of the head of the kid who sits in front of her. And it just kind of like escalates from there, in terms of just like silliness, because it's not like a serious manga. It's pretty fun. Like, there is one little thing with one girl who like doesn't like Ruri, and it's never really explained, but I think it has to do with the fact that, like, she's becoming a dragon or whatever, and she's kind of like scared of her because of it. And there's a lot, and there's like a lot of lore that is involved with her being a dragon, and I kind of like that, that Masaoki Shindo, really did a lot of work, to set up this dragon aspect of the character, and in this world. And there are things that are traits, that are dragon traits for this specific world. Like, there are, like, I think 9 or so abilities that that Ruri can essentially inherit because her father, her father is a dragon. And I guess, I don't know if he has all the traits or not, like, it's only like 6 chapters. It's only like 10 chapters so far. It hasn't really, gone that far. I like that it's kind of like taking its time. The series is taking its time, kind of sprinkling in, the different sorts of quirks or whatever that this character has, the personality quirks or whatever, the little magic things that she can do, like she can breathe fire. And at one point in time, she's able to, she goes out, at one point in time, she goes out into a field with her mom and she learns how to control her flames. And she also, at another point in time, learns that she has like the ability to conduct like electricity or whatever. Like, her whole body becomes electrified. She's basically an Elden Ring dragon. She's that one you fight in the Colosseum or whatever. I can't remember what the hell that dragon's name was, but that dude was extremely tough. And that's what she made me think of. She made me think of that dragon from Elden Ring that you fight in Far Azula or whatever. Yeah, that it's so good, dude. This story is just an absolute blast to read. I love watching the interactions that this character has, with her classmates and with her mom, and it's so wholesome. And this is one of those series that I think is super adorable, and the lead character, Ruri, is a ton of fun to hang out with. To see her, basically going through her life, as this teenage girl and as somebody who's like, awakening this part of herself. And I feel like it kind of does, in the sense, speak, to the teenage condition, where like your body is for the most part changing as you're growing or whatever. And her becoming a dragon is kind of like a metaphor for that, just in a real life, sort of situation, where like you're getting older and you're growing or whatever. And I feel like that's a thing that the story is also conveying. It's like that you're changing as a person, but we're also throwing in the dragon aspect of it, to kind of make it a little more fantastical. But for the most part, it is kind of like a coming of age, though I want to say more slice of life than anything sort of a story. There is nothing but praise that I have for the series. I like the kids that Ruri hangs out with. They kind of remind me of the more fun parts of Dead Demons, Dead Destruction, where that series is, on the one hand, it's a blast because it's so much fun hanging out with these girls, but at the same time, if you know, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where like it gets really brutal, really fast, and parts of Dead Demons are just so ruthless. It's so messed up, dude. It's just like, damn, Inyo Asano, dude, what the hell, bro? Because the things he writes are so screwed up sometimes, bro. I honestly think the Dead Demons is just one of the most messed up things he's done, and I really want to read Mojina of the Deep, or whatever that series is called. It's now available on the Viz app, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to read that at some point because I want to get a video out about that series, hopefully sooner or later. At least in Ruri Dragon, her mom is there, and her mom is super supportive, and I love her mom. She's such a great character, dude, and I love, you know, the positivity of the series. It's such a sweet manga, dude, and it's one of those things where, like, I look forward to reading it because, like, it's just so innocent, and there isn't anything. Like, if you like super dark, seinen stuff, because I know there's some of you out there that really aren't really too into like the lighter stuff. You just want to read like the most brutal manga out, and you just want to talk about like more of the seinen stuff. You're probably not gonna like Ruri Dragon, but for those of you that like, you know, chill slice of life stuff, I think you're gonna love Ruri Dragon. I know it's been out for a long time. The first like 6 chapters dropped forever ago. Technically, this shouldn't be a series that I talk about in a first impressions video because it's been out, but it resumed serialization, and it resumed serialization now, like 2 years later or whatever. But dude, I don't care because I have had so much fun with Ruri Dragon. I've had fun with all these other series as well. Ankoku Delta, I've had a ton of fun with. And with Astro Baby, I've also had a ton of fun. I think all 3 of these series are all worth reading. They're all worth your time. Maybe you might lean towards more one or the other. Or maybe you want to check out all 3. I guess it depends. And that's why I like talking about a lot of different stuff, because I know that I have a lot of followers that like a lot of different things, and I want to be able to, you know, connect with each and every one of you. So yeah, that's all I got for you. So as you all know, I am now a member of the YouTube partnership program, and that is something that I'm really happy to be a part of. And being that I am a part of the partnership program, that means that I now have the ability to create memberships, which I may do at some point. I'm not really there yet where I want to make a membership on YouTube, but if you do want to support this channel, if you want to support me monetarily, you can do so by heading over to Patreon and becoming a member there. And any money that this channel makes is going to go right back into the channel. Like, I need to replace one of my lights. One of my lights is already gone, and my other light's pretty much donezo. I can't even twist it anymore. Like, I've used it for so long now that, like, whenever I try to twist it, like, it just slides right back down. Like, it's completely worn out. So I want to replace those lights, and pretty much, like, if this channel makes any money, that will go right back into it in some way or another, where, like, I'll buy manga or something, or, you know, just like put it into the channel in some way that, you know, yeah, I'll be able to change out my equipment or whatever. And not that I'm expecting, you know, to make a killing or anything, but anything that you want to donate, if you want to donate. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you don't want to join the Patreon, which is $2 a month, and it's never going to be more than $2 a month, if you don't want to join the Patreon, you could also leave me a super thanks on this video. Obviously, same with the Patreon. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but it is appreciated. Any donation is appreciated. And again, if you don't want to, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to hold it against anybody that doesn't want to donate. I'm still going to make these same videos that I've been making for almost 3 years, because I love doing this and I love hanging out with you all. Every time you all comment on these videos, it means the absolute world to me. I love having these interactions, you know, where we talk about manga, or if you're reading a book, if you're reading a comic book, if you're watching a TV show, whatever you got going on, it doesn't even have to be related to manga. Just feel free to let me know in the comments what's going on in your life. And let's close this thing out. I want to say, I hope that you're all doing well. I hope that everyone you love is also doing well. That's all I got for you all. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take care of yourselves. Until next time that we meet.
Yo, it's himself, the Shadowrunners clique, aka Sleep All Out. Take you on a mental and live for one day, y'all. Sheets, y'all. Guns, y'all. Yo, who got the guns, you got the coke. Hustling them through like big puns, cholesterol before he croak. Rest in peace, but I bless in peace and live to one day lay in shoots. Rap over beats and tell wild stories, the mythology mystery. Choke on your own misery, fuck them, we're the wild bunch. Yo, I asked him if this bike could punch. This shit made me lose my lunch. Bro grabbed the rocket, I said chill before he cocked it.